The final period of rule for ancient Egypt begins when the Macedonian king Alexander the Great claims Egypt from Persian rule during his tremendous campaign. His intervention is welcomed by the people, allowing his administration to continue the line of Egyptian pharaohs. Before his death, Alexander establishes the Egyptian city of Alexandria, and rule of the kingdom passes down to his loyal companion Ptolemy. This Ptolemaic dynasty is the last ruling body of ancient Egypt before it becomes a province of the Roman Empire. Its final pharaoh is iconically known as Cleopatra VII, Thea Philopator. By the time she is born in the 1st century BC, it's established that Ptolemaic pharaohs are declared by the high priest of Ptah, but otherwise rule as Greek monarchs who never even bother to learn Egyptian language. Despite being born to Alexandria, Cleopatra chooses to learn many languages, including the native tongue her ancestors rejected. As the daughter of Ptolemy XII, she receives a thorough Greek education from her tutor, Philostratos. Even before her birth, Egypt's political lineage is heavily influenced by Roman interests, and this becomes especially relevant when her father dies in the year 51 BC. At this point, she and her brother Ptolemy XIII both inherit the throne, consecrating their partnership through an incestuous ceremonial marriage. Despite this joint arrangement, Cleopatra is 18, around 8 years older than her brother, and is thus treated as Egypt's dominant ruler. However, taking this initiative spurns a falling out between the siblings, leading to civil war. Cleopatra flees to Syria, raises an army, and retaliates against her brother in 48 BC. In order to try and reconcile the two siblings, Egypt is visited by the rising Roman general Julius Caesar. At first sight, Caesar is absolutely smitten by Cleopatra's beauty, and despite him being 40 years old, with a 20-year age gap between them, Cleopatra returns the affection. After all, even in his age, he is both lean and handsome. Unlike the previous pharaohs of Egypt during this time, Caesar can tell that Cleopatra has a heightened sense of pride for her people and country. He sees her as truly worthy of being Egypt's queen. By this point, he had gone through a number of romantic partners, but had never experienced true love until meeting Cleopatra. Naturally, this love means he favors Cleopatra during negotiations with her brother, and this bias is quickly noticed. Ptolemy XIII takes to this bias by besieging the lovers at Alexandria. Whatever peace existed between the siblings has been lost, and Caesar is at war not just against the Roman Senate, but also Egypt's ruling parties. Cleopatra and Caesar's forces oppose Ptolemy's throughout the year, until Caesar receives aid from his ally, Mithridates of Pergamum. This allows Caesar to corner Ptolemy in the Battle of the Nile. Caesar chases his enemy out, and Ptolemy XIII drowns when his ship capsizes. Caesar's victory in Egypt is met by his conquest of the Roman Senate, and in the aftermath, he proclaims Cleopatra and her even younger brother Ptolemy XIV as joint rulers of Egypt. In much the same way as before, the sibling partnership is commemorated with marriage, but this does nothing to prevent Cleopatra and Caesar from continuing their private affair, which results in the birth of a son, Caesarion. As a ruler of ancient Egypt, Cleopatra is quite enigmatic, perhaps even arrogant. She refers to herself as the incarnation of the goddess Isis and claims to be the most beautiful person to grace the earth. This vanity is no doubt narcissistic, viewing all other things beneath her, with the exception of Egyptian gods like Medjed, and yet somehow, this superiority complex does not intrude upon her compassion. Certainly, she views herself as superior. To her, it is simply a fact of life, but in no way does that make others less valuable to her. She always works hard, studies diligently, and devotes herself to Egypt and its people. Her intelligence raises Egypt from an inferior nation to a world-leading economic state. This dedication is what won Caesar over, not simply her charms. She shows appreciation for her subjects through receptions, wherein she will advise them on their health and aspirations of the future. There is a genuine kindness behind her sadistic tastes, a sort of pleasant domination that draws in audiences both within and beyond her kingdom. Naturally, this puts her in the position of a temptress, but despite how literature later characterizes her, she only has interest in attracting men who she can embrace and devote her life to. She values love and childbirth, and regardless of her ceremonial marriages, she remains faithful to her beloved Caesar. The two lovers share aspirations. Caesar hopes to bring about a Roman-Egyptian empire on par with what Alexander the Great had achieved. He aims to claim control of the Roman Republic and expand its glory across the Mediterranean before removing Ptolemy XIV from power and announcing to the world Cleopatra as his wife and Caesarion as his son. Yet, this does not come to pass. At the theater of Pompey, he is betrayed, assassinated by his retainer Brutus. In the wake of her lover's death, Cleopatra yearns to at least have Caesarion recognized as a legitimate heir. She visits Rome in 44 BC, hoping to establish her son as Caesar's successor, and yet that title goes to his grandnephew, Octavian. Taking control of what she can, Cleopatra has her brother executed and instills Caesarion as her co-ruler. While grieving Caesar's death, Cleopatra is to meet with the Roman general Antonius to discuss her role in Rome's government. This man, commonly known as Mark Antony, assures her he will protect Egypt's independence. Over the following years, he becomes her emotional salvation, and together they have 3 children. During this time, Alexandria cooperates with Octavian's second triumvirate, an alliance which includes Antonius. Part of this agreement has Antonius marry Octavian's sister, Octavia, but after 3 years of that marriage, Antonius can no longer maintain the peace. He simply cannot tolerate Octavian's rule. He returns to Egypt and teams up with Cleopatra for war. In exchange for expanding Egypt's territories, Cleopatra supplies Antonius with funds for his campaign. His return is celebrated by the donations of Alexandria, an event in which crowds gather to witness Antonius and Cleopatra sitting atop golden thrones just above their children. There, Caesarion is proclaimed to be Caesar's son and rightful heir to the throne. For a time, this causes the war to turn to propaganda. While Antonius claims to be allied with the true heir of Rome, Octavian spreads the sentiment that Antonius had been planning to betray Rome all along. Regardless of public opinion, Egypt cannot hold its own in combat. Antonius is defeated at the naval battle of Actium in 31 BC and dies shortly thereafter. Cleopatra finds herself locked in her own palace as Roman forces conquer Egypt. She refuses to become a prisoner to Octavian and meets with an almost divine presence. Among the ancient line of pharaohs, kingship is symbolized by the snake Urius. As if that very same divine snake is come to her, a cobra emerges from hiding among a basket of figs. Taking her own life, Cleopatra offers her arm to the asp and is bitten by its poisonous fangs. Technically, the Ptolemaic dynasty remains alive with her son Caesarion still her joint ruler, but he is only a boy of 9 years old. Just a few days after her, the boy also dies, putting an end to the Roman Republic and paving the way for the Roman Empire. Again, historical texts characterize Cleopatra as a seductress with devilish beauty, but in truth, Cleopatra only ever shared herself with the 2 men she dearly loved. Thankfully, this devotion is recorded into the Throne of Heroes, placing her among many brave warriors able to fight for the good of mankind. That said, her wish in seeking the Holy Grail is to truly validate her son Caesarion's right to the throne as the son of Caesar. She yearns for her and Caesar's love to be officially recognized, and their son acknowledged. Her motive as an assassin servant is to make this wish a reality. Tragically, however, Cleopatra denies herself this wish even after death, acknowledging it as selfish. Why should she, the one who ended the pharaoh's lineage, be allowed to stand among other great pharaohs from Egypt's past? That said, her guilt is carried in solitude, as none of her fellow pharaohs judge her. In fact, the opposite is true. Specifically, the pharaoh king Ozymandias is able to witness Cleopatra denying herself the chance to be a servant, refusing all summons, and decides to give her a chance to achieve her wish. In the modern era, the Chaldea security organization fights against the demon god hivemind Getia to undo the incineration of human history. Its only master, Ritsuka Fujimaru, is in the process of ray-shifting to various singularities and becomes caught up in one themed around Halloween. Ozymandias offers to give Cleopatra a holy grail if she can rule over the singularity until the holidays end. Inadvertently playing along, Ritsuka works with Elizabeth Bathory to defeat her. Having lost the fight, Cleopatra feels that she has to give up on her wish, but Ozymandias and all the other servants who fought her proclaim she is a worthy pharaoh who has just as much a right to pursue happiness as any of them. Upon accepting herself, Cleopatra willingly joins Ritska in the fight for humanity. While she is known for wearing lavish garments as a pharaoh, she chooses to accompany Ritska wearing a set of leather pants and a jacket. She did not wear these in life, but admits that she thinks this sort of vogue popular fashion suits her. Only after becoming more comfortable with her master does she reveal her more traditional attire. In life, Cleopatra studied hand-to-hand fighting and fencing on a whim. While no expert in this form of combat, her practice, combined with her imperial privilege skill, actually render her quite powerful. In addition to her hand-to-hand fighting, she has her noble phantasm, Urius Astrape, O serpent who ends the time of dawn, here. As a manifestation of the circumstances behind her death, Cleopatra can summon a giant serpent with blue and gold stripes. Surrounded by flames, this snake is unleashed to destroy its surroundings haphazardly, even managing to harm Cleopatra in the process. The snake is fueled by her regret for ending thousands of years of Egyptian history. Though, as a servant of Chaldea, perhaps Cleopatra's greatest challenge is not the salvation of mankind, but her reunion with her precious Caesar at Chaldea. In servant form, he is summoned in a much more portly fashion. While she did not fall for Caesar solely based on appearance, his new body is in stark contrast to the one she once knew. She struggles to accept this drastic change given how attractive he once was. Given Cleopatra's wish to validate her son's existence, part of that endeavor involves restoring Caesar to his former weight. Her vision is to make amends for the past, to have Caesar announce his son as though he were still alive. Doing so will eliminate her lingering regrets, allowing her to rest in peace. It's exactly because of this that, in a rather twisted fashion, Caesar refuses to let this happen, insisting on keeping his excess ballast so that she still has a reason to continue as a servant. Knowing his womanizing nature, it's easy to see this as just an excuse, an escape from responsibility, but he is nevertheless able to encourage Cleopatra to remain by Ritska's side and continue fighting as a servant of Chaldea. As for Caesar's physical appearance, well, Cleopatra seems to be coping with it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this channel, help me beat the algorithm by liking, commenting, and sharing the video, subscribing to OtakuDaiKun, and, most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of my anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content. If you want to support me directly, there are now 3 ways that all provide the same benefits. You can click Join here on YouTube, or join Patreon or Subscribestar for access to exclusive vids and early access. As always, celebrate your fandom.